Can anybody hear me? No.
Yes.
I can
Okay.
hear you.
Okay, I was muted. That's why I'll just, great, thank you.
You guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, good morning.
We're working through some, this is the first time, so we'll see what happens here. Morning.
Good morning. Should we record it? Will this be recorded
Yes.
for us to be able to, kind of use as a reference?
Absolutely.
Great, thank you.
I'll send it out after the, at some point today.
Wonderful. I'm not Greg Freeborg, I'm Carol Freeborg, so.
Hey, Carol.
I'm just gonna wait another minute and then we'll get started.
Okay, great. That'll be
Hmm? Okay.
Looks like it's pretty easy. That just shows you who else is in here. Mm-hmm.
Which shows up as Mallory, but it's like,
Yeah.
There it goes.
Should we get started?
Sure. How many?
26.
Oh, well, okay.
All right.
Apparently you can change those usernames on there because the kids have been doing them on their Zoom meetings to drive their teachers crazy.
Oh, yeah?
Like hashtag my mute is not disabled or whatever. They've been just doing all kinds of
Right.
distractions. Or they change it to the teacher's name and the teacher keeps saying it's logging her off and on. And she's like, I didn't do that.
Rename.
Here we go.
Yep.
It's gonna
I'll
be
try to figure it out later.
Hey,
I
if the kids can do
I can
it.
be Carol Freeborg.
That's right.
Yeah, I need to rename mine.
Let's see. Rename, I see it right there.
Captain Keith.
There we go. Look at that. Boom. Thank
Where
you.
is it?
That's funny. I just learned to do backgrounds too. But
We're learning so much, aren't we?
Yeah, can't wait till we get back to good old face-to-face live stuff.
What? No, it has me under Jordan Christine, but there's a way to rename it. I don't know how.
You double click on the image there. And
Yes.
a little bar, a little thing, a list will come up and one of them is rename.
Oh, rename. Got
Okay.
it.
Oh,
That's what I just did. I was Greg. I'm not now Carol.
Okay. I don't think we have anyone else in the waiting room.
can you get me like bigger on there?
There. I'm me again.
Doesn't matter.
All right.
Okay.
Why it won't do that?
And then just as long as we get back over to when we go to the websites
Yeah.
later on. Okay,
Over
if you
here.
can get that figured out. Okay,
Mhm.
cool. All right. Guys ready to get started?
Yep.
Ready.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
Good morning. Hope you get your coffee. Thanks for getting up with us this morning. I'm Captain Keith. I'm the delivery and orientation captain here at MarineMax Clearwater. Been here a little over 18 years. I've delivered thousands of boats. So as we're going along, if you've got questions, if you maybe just write them down or or you can ask them as we go along, and I'll try to answer them. At the end of the class, I'll definitely sit down and we'll go through questions that you've got and things like that. I would like to introduce you to Mallory. You guys have been emailing and talking with her. So she's our
Hi,
getaways
Mallory.
coordinator.
Yes, good morning, everybody. I just want to thank you guys for spending your morning with us. Again, my name is Mallory. I am the marketing and getaways coordinator here at the Clearwater location. Just a little bit about MarineMax, if you don't know. We have 68 locations across the US, just with a ton of different, offering a ton of different boats. This specific location, our brands are Sea Ray, Boston Whaler, Galleon Yachts, Azimut Yachts, Nautique, Aquila Power Cats. We just have a variety of boats available. So again, thank you for being here this morning with us. And Captain Keith, I'll turn it over to you.
Oh, thanks. Okay, so kind of the agenda this morning, we're going to go through some safety gear, things that you need to have on your boat. And then we're going to get into the channel markers, the rules of the road, kind of what the markers mean and that stuff. And then just depending, I've got cleats here and lines, and we can tie lines and do stuff like that too. But just the first and foremost, we're just going to go over your safety gear. And that's one thing, if you do buy a boat from MarineMax, or those of you that have, you already know this, you're going to get what's called a Go Boating Kit. So you'll have everything you need to be safe and legal on the boat, from your throw cushion, life jackets, flares, fire extinguishers, the whole 9 yards, anchors, lines, fenders, and all that, full tank of fuel, and then a captain's orientation with yours truly here. So provide here in Clearwater. So first things first, throw cushion. This is a type 4 throwable. You'll have one of these on the boat. This needs to be where it's immediately accessible. So technically this should be up on deck with you and not stowed away anywhere. If you do have it inside a door or a cabinet or something underneath the seat, make sure it's the first thing you can grab. So if you were to see the FWC or Coast Guard, if they come to board you, and they will periodically, they want to do a safety inspection to make sure you're good and legal and safe. Just go ahead and reach over and grab this and just set it on the seat next to you. Then they're going to pull up, and they want to see this as they're coming up. Then life jackets, personal flotation devices. We've got to have one for every person on board the boat. Depending on the size of the boat, most of you will get a type 3 life jacket like this with your boat. All your life jackets, you just want to make sure that it says it's U.S. Coast Guard certified and approved on them. This is good for near shore use. It may or may not, it won't necessarily float an unconscious person face up. YouTube, there's a video of a guy who was on a jet ski out here about a year ago out by the ship channel. He jumped a wake and hit his head on a ski and went in the water and ended up floating face down. Another guy went over and grabbed him and rolled him up. But so near shore, close, where your chances of being pulled out of the water are going to be rapid. There's things you can do too to these life jackets. If you just go to the dollar store and get 2 of them for $1, those little green silent little snap sticks. If you get some of those and just tie them onto your life jacket, if you end up in the water at night for some reason, you've been Salt Rock Grill and you're coming home from dinner, something happens, you end up in the water, you can break that little stick, shake it up, then you're going to be glowing out there. It's going to be a lot easier for somebody to see you and get you out of the water. So just little things you can do to make yourself more visible. This is a type 2, kind of like the horse collar type 1, very familiar with these two. These are, kind of standard. Like I said, we'll provide you with the type 3s. These are good to have on your boat as well. Same thing, near shore, where your chances of being pulled out of the water are going to be rapid. You have to have a life jacket for every person on board the boat. So you'll have one of the type 4 throwables, a life jacket for everybody. Kids, make sure you have the right size life jacket for the little ones, your kids, grandkids. Florida law states kids 6 and under on vessels 26 feet and under need to wear a life jacket. Now that doesn't mean if you've got a $27 or 28 outrage that your 5 or 6 year old kid does. I mean, it's common sense, right? Who cares? I mean, what's the distinction between 26 feet and 27 feet? So put your kids in a jacket. Life jackets save lives. Once again, they've got to say that it's Coast Guard approved. There's a lot of them out there that are going to look like this. It looks like it's a perfectly good life jacket. It's got padding all around, floaty and all that stuff, but it doesn't have the Coast Guard endorsement in here. So if they're wearing this, it's just like having nothing on at all. And the other thing too, real important with kids, is put the jackets on them and get them used to wearing them. Put them in the pool, take them to the beach, whatever. Make sure that the jacket does what it's supposed to do. Once again, I mean, there's a wealth of stuff you can see on YouTube and whatnot. There's a guy that takes his granddaughter and puts her in a Coast Guard approved PFD, sets her in a pool, and it rolls her right over face down. That absolutely does not work. So make sure that the ones you do get do what they're supposed to do. Those little, my granddaughter, those little puddle jumpers that go around the chest and the little things on the arms, they are Coast Guard approved and they work great. She's like a little Weebles wobble. She sits in the water and loves it. So make sure they do what they're supposed to do. Those of you that are going offshore, you got the bigger boats, or you're going to go out fishing on the way out. This is a type 1. It's a lot beefier, a lot bigger. What you want to do is, so my size is going to be different than my girlfriend's or other people on the boat that I'm going with. If you take and stencil or write your name on your life jacket, go ahead and get them pre-sized. So if you're grabbing them and going, you go to put it on, it's going to fit you. You're not trying to squeeze into something that's way too small. This type 1 will float an unconscious person face up. It's got reflectors on it. It's got this pad back here. It's got grab handles. It's got all kinds of stuff. The other thing I've done with this is once again accessorizing, right? You want to try to make yourself, be spotted to be able to be plucked out of the water. So I've got a strobe light on here. So there's a little test tab on here, and there she goes. So right there, that's going to make it a heck of a lot easier for somebody to see me. They sell them that are water activated. This one here, I just chose. I want to be able to pull it myself. If it's 9 o'clock in the morning, I end up in the water out there. Nobody's really looking for me yet. I can wait till it gets dark or I see a plane or something. Then I can go ahead and pop that, and then it's going to be out there flashing to make it a lot easier. Okay, so type 1, a little bit more money, but it's well worth it. It'll definitely do its job. Want to model this for me, Mallory?
All right.
There's another type of life jacket. These are called suspenders. Very lightweight. They're not cumbersome. So say I'm down in Naples and I'm bringing a boat back up here to Clearwater that one of our guys sold. So I rent a car, drive down, hop in a boat, running it back up here. Something happens, I need to go up to the bow, I need to drop an anchor or whatever. I can just throw this on. My arms are still free to work and move and stuff like that. But if I were to slip and fall, this actually will automatically inflate if I hit the water. So pop this in the middle there. So
Captain Keith?
lightweight, easy to use. So it's got an auto deploy mechanism in there. So if it does get wet, it gets submerged, it'll go. There's also a little tab right here that says what?
Inflate.
Jerk to inflate. Go ahead. How about a hand for Mallory? Yeah. So that is totally reloadable, reusable. I don't know how many times this has been popped off. If you've got one of these, the different manufacturers will tell you, I think like once a year, go ahead and inflate it and let it sit for, like 24 hours to make sure it holds the gas in here. So all I have to do to redo this, so it's just a CO2 cartridge. Then when she pulled the pin, that just popped, all the CO2 came out of this. and into the jacket. There's a deflation tube on here and an inflation tube. So if it were leaking, you could just blow into this like a straw to keep this filled up. Or I just release it like that. Then all the gas is going to come out of here. And then we can redo it. Is our volume okay again? That went low.
You're good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions on the life jackets, throwable or any of that stuff? Common sense, right? Okay.
Captain Keith, this is Priya.
Just type them in the chat. I'll be monitoring that.
Cool.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay, flares. Any of y'all have a boat that's older than 3 years? Good. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, yes, I
If you
do.
haven't checked your flares, I guarantee you they're expired. Okay.
Oh, we do have a question, Keith, about recommendations for dog life jackets.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, if you're kind of depends on the dog, but yeah, I mean, if a dog's apt to fall in, the jacket's going to keep the dog floating. Plus, they've got the handles on them, so it's easy to kind of pluck them back in the water. That's just a personal call on you. It kind of depends what kind of dog you got, maybe how well they're, apt to swimming and stuff like that. How long do the CO2 cartridges last? I think they're pretty much indefinite. Where it went, but it kind of rolled off. I took it out of there.
Oh, okay.
It'll last for forever, as far as I know. Because all it is, when she pulled the pin, it just popped a hole in it. It's like the air guns and stuff like that use the same thing. So now this one's done. You just pitch it out, and I would just, you go to MarineMax or West Marine or somewhere and get you another CO2 cartridge, pop it in, and then reset it, and you're good to go. So, okay, flares. You got several different types. This one's red and white, and I know it's gonna be hard to see, but on the cap, there's a sun and a moon. So these red and white ones are good for day or night.
We have 2 more questions with the life jackets. How long do CO2 cartridges last when you repair a boat? Do you check the flares? Or is the life jacket with the CO2 cartridge one that flips you right side up?
Yes, that will flip, because it's all the CO2s in the front. So yeah, it'll definitely float you face up. You're not gonna be able to float face down in that. If a boat comes in for repairs to your MarineMax store, we're not gonna check the flare dates or anything like that. That's on you guys. That's kind of what the question was. So, but there's a manufacture date and an expiration date written on the flares. So it's really easy to check. They're good for 42 months typically, from the date of manufacture to when they're no good. Now they may still work, but just make sure you've still got a good current set of flares with you on the boat. So like I said, the red and white ones are good for day or night. The orange ones are just strictly daytime. So if you had to light one of these off, the black cap on the top pops off, and then there's a piece of sandpaper on here. This is a plastic piece that's on this stick. You pull the plastic piece off of the length of the stick here. So basically in my hand, I've got the side of a box of matches, and this is nothing other than just basically a long match stick. You're gonna strike it on the top right here, and it'll kind of pop, it'll start going. This red one, you're gonna have a flame to it and some smoke coming off. You're gonna hold it in the white part, hold it up in the air above your head, and you wanna hold it downwind and over the water. So as this, it's kind of like candle wax. You're gonna have slag dripping off of here. You don't wanna be putting holes in your carpet or on your upholstery or anything like that. So hold it over the water, downwind, and it takes about 3 minutes for it to go out. Once it's lit, it's not gonna go out. You can put it in the water, you can do whatever with it. It's gonna keep on burning until it gets down through the red, then it gets to the white, then it's done. So like I said, the red ones are day or night. These orange ones are strictly daytime. There's no flame to it. It's just big orange billowing smoke. coming out off of here, and it's the same thing. You got the sandpaper, pull the cap off the end, strike it, and then you're off to the races. Now, if you have a flare gun on this, you got the shotgun shells here, same thing. You're gonna have a manufacturer date and an expiration date on these. The barrel of the gun just snaps open. You're gonna drop the shell in there like that. You'll close it back up. There's nothing in there. Pull the hammer back, squeeze the trigger, and it's like a Roman candle going off. So you just have a red blazer arcing through the sky. Now, we'll tell you, if you're in an emergency situation and you have to shoot one of these, follow it up with a second shot. That first one, more than likely, is just going to catch somebody's peripheral vision. They're going to go, did I see something or not? I mean, personal experience, we were offshore one morning running out fishing, and it was rough, it was cold, kind of all hunkered down, running along, and off to the side, you know, we thought I saw something. It was like, nah, no, it's just a shooting star or whatever. But then a couple seconds later, a second one went up. And sure enough, there was a boat out there, a commercial grouper boat, that had lost power, had been taken on water all night. The guys were out there with 5-gallon buckets, been out there bailing the boat out all night. So we were able to pull up, called the Coast Guard. They flew a helicopter out, dropped down a diver with a crash pump, and we're able to keep them floating and get them back in. So that second one is what made us turn the boat and go on over. Whistle. In this flare kit I've got here, there's different kinds of kits. Your boat has a horn, but you still need a manual sound producing device. So have to take a whistle and have it in your flare kit. You can get whistles, put them on all your life jackets, just tie them on. You end up in the water, you can blow the whistle, get help. Just things you can do. Also, got glow sticks in here, same thing. You got them in the flare kit, you know, you just break the thing, shake it up. If you tie these on all your life jackets, or maybe you need a night light on your boat, right? So it's just something cheap, something easy, and it works. So you can put all this stuff in a box and a kit and keep it all together.
There was a question here. I don't think we're going to be handling that, but.
Handling wakes, chopping, docking. Yeah, we can talk about that at the end. We'll just sit down at the end of the class and we'll have a like question and answer thing going along. We can talk about anything. I got all day. VHF radios. VHF stands for very high frequency. So that's your marine frequencies are on your, if you've got a fixed mount radio on your boat, or at the minimum, you're going to have a handheld like this. Channel 16 is your hailing and distress channel. If you need to call somebody, you're going to call them on channel 16. If you need to call the Coast Guard, you're calling them on 16. So once you get hold of somebody on the 16 channel, then you want to switch to like one of 5, what they call working channels. You've got channel 68, 69, 71, 72, and 78. Those are all non-commercial pleasure boat channels.
78.
So if I see somebody going down the intercoastal, it's a buddy of mine, I'm looking out the window right now, and there's a boat called The Perfect Day. So I go, the perfect day, the perfect day, the perfect day. This is MarineMax 1. I go, MarineMax 1, this is the perfect day. Let's go to channel 68. So then we'd switch up to channel 68 on the radio. And then it's like, hey, the perfect day is MarineMax 1. Then we can start talking. Hey, we're going out to Egmont. We'll meet you out there by the rocks. We're going to go snorkeling, whatever you're going to be doing for the day. When you're done talking on channel 68, you just want to go back to channel 16 and stand by on 16. If there's a notice to mariners, if there's been a channel marker destroyed, weather moving in, anything going on, the Coast Guard's going to come on channel 16 and alert you to that. Your VHF radio also allows you to go to a weather channel. So we've got
winds for southeast at 14 knots.
So on your VHF radios, it's going to be WX. hit the WX button, and then there's 10 weather channels you can choose from. So around here in Pinellas, Hillsborough, Pasco, around here, it's channel 1 or channel 5. If we're down in Fort Myers, it might be channel 7. If you're in Key West, it might be channel 8. Just kind of depends. So you just go to the WX button, scroll through 1 through 10, and then you're going to get the strongest signal from the one that's in your area, and then you get up-to-date information, no weather information on those channels. This is an ICOM VHF handheld radio, by the way. It floats, it's submersible. You don't have to worry about dropping it in the water and it not working. It'll always work. ICOM's good radio. All right. So some of you may have, so VHF radios work through basically line of sight. That's why on your boats, your antennas are going to be mounted up on top of your T-top or your hardtop, and then you got an 8-foot antenna on a fixed mount radios. It's going to give you a bigger range, and they're going to be 25 watts. These handhelds are for just close-in conversation. You're not going to get the range out of them, and it doesn't have the power. This is only like 5 watts. But you're still limited with a VHF radio as to how far you can talk. There's a thing called an EPIRB, if it's an emergency situation. EPIRB stands for Emergency Positioning Radio Beacon. Emergency Positioning Indicating Radio Beacon, EPIRB. What that'll allow you to do is if you set the EPIRB off, it goes to a satellite, and then the satellite, depending on what type of EPIRB you have, some are already on an emergency frequency. The satellite will pick it up. It'll notify the Coast Guard. If there's commercial planes flying in the area or whatever, it goes onto the emergency frequency. There's also personal locator beacons that work the same way as an EPIRB. This happens to be a spot messenger, SPOT messenger. Garmin makes them. Atlas Tracks, there's a bunch of different manufacturers of these now. And what it does, instead of being affixed to the boat, this is your own personal locator beacon. With a spot messenger, you pay an annual subscription to a company that's going to monitor this, kind of like your alarm system at the house, right? So should something happen, there's a little cap on here. I can pop open that says SOS. I hold that SOS button down. The signal is going to go to the satellite. The monitoring company is going to pick that up, and they're going to know my latitude and longitude from the fix it gets from the satellite. So if I'm out in the Gulf and they get it, they're going to notify the Coast Guard. If I'm out in Colorado skiing and I smash into a tree and I can't get hold of anybody, I can hit that SOS button there. They're going to get my lat long, and they're going to notify the proper authorities there. It'll work anywhere in the world. You hit the SOS, the crosshairs are going to line up. They're going to know where you are. They're going to send you help. On the not so extreme part of it, there's an OK button here. There's a message button on here. And what it allows you to do, so this is the first version of one. So I had to go in and like preset up a saying. So like my OK is like, everything's great, wish you were here, or whatever it is. It allows me to have 10 people on my contact list, and I can either choose to have them texted or emailed. So if I'm traveling along, I hit that OK button. Everybody on my buddy list is going to get that OK message, and they're going to get a Google Earth picture of where I am. So if I'm moving a boat and I'm out of phone range as I'm going along, a bunch of my captain buddies, they might be moving boats over to Texas or New Orleans. As they're running along, every couple hours, you just hit the OK button, and I can just kind of track them along as they're going. There's also a help button on here. So if I were to hit the help button, they're going to get the same thing, except they're going to know I need help, but it's not an urgent message to where I need to get the Coast Guard involved or somebody like that. They're going to know, hey, maybe he's broke down here or something's going on. We got to figure it out, but he needs assistance. Great tool, and it'll work, like I said, works anywhere. Good investment. So personal locator beacons, or an actual EPIRB on your boat. Fire extinguishers. Check the gauge on your fire extinguishers on your boats periodically if you haven't. The needle's got to be in the green. If it's dropped down in the red, just pitch the fire extinguisher out, get yourself a new one. One thing I do want you to do is check and see if you have a KIDDE, K-I-D-D-E fire extinguisher in your boat, in your garage, under your kitchen sink, the house, wherever. They've had a national recall on all these. There's going to be a serial number and a model number printed on the fire extinguisher itself. And if it's an older one, more than likely it's been recalled. Just go to their website. If it is, you let them know. They'll send you a brand new one, a comparable one. You take the new one, you put your old one in the box, FedEx takes it and ships it back to them. What was happening, I don't know if you can see this, so this has got a plastic pull ring on it and it's snapped off and it's broke off. So they're having a bunch of these that were like either prematurely going off or the pins were breaking off and they were draining down without anybody knowing it. So if you've got KIDDE fire extinguishers, just make sure you check that out. A couple other things real quick, just general maintenance stuff. Snap and zipper lube. Any of you have fought canvas, your snaps, trying to snap your cushions down, pull your covers on your boat. A little bit of snap stick, it looks like chapstick. So just take a little bit of this, dab it on your snaps, or actually the proper way of doing it is the female side, the cup end. Just take a little bit of this and put it in there instead of going around and sticking it on top of all the snap heads, because then that's going to attract dirt and it rains and you get those little black streaks running down the side of the boat. So if you just put it in the actual snap heads, it kind of alleviates some of that problems and helps keep your boat a little cleaner. And then I'm sure you all know, last but not least, just kind of safety wise stuff, but sunscreen, make sure you load up on that and stay good. One other thing I just thought of, fire extinguishers, don't throw them in the garbage. They're still flammable. They're still gonna go. What I would recommend doing is taking them to your local fire department. You're running an errand, doing whatever, just drop them off at the fire station. They can use them in their pyrotechnic training and stuff like that. They'll go out and burn them up and play with them and that kind of stuff. But please don't throw them in the garbage, because you're liable to start an inadvertent fire, something like that. So, any questions so far on this stuff? Doing all right? Okay, guess so. Okay. Channel markers. Everybody heard red right return?
Yep.
Okay. So what does red right return mean? So red right return is when you're going from a bigger body of water to a smaller body of water. So if we're out in the Gulf of Mexico and we're coming back in, so we're heading towards the intercoastal, we're coming in the pass, the red markers are going to be on your right, the greens are going to be on your left. If we're in the intercoastal and we're pulling back into a marina, as we're coming off the bigger intercoastal, going into a smaller marina, you're returning, reds are going to be on your right, greens are on your left. They don't move, so when you're leaving, the greens are on your right, the reds are going to be on your left. Your red markers are always triangle shape. Your greens are always square. A lot of people are red-green colorblind, so the shapes are always the same, so you can tell the difference. If the sun's rising or setting behind the markers, you're not going to be able to make out the colors, so you're going to have the shapes to go by. Your green markers are odd numbered. Your red ones are always even numbered. As you go in a channel, as you're returning, the numbers go in ascending order. So we've got 1, 2, next you're going to be 3, 4, 5, 6, so on and so forth as you work your way in. Any of you that have been up to the Homosassa River know that by the time you come in off the Gulf and you run clear up into get to McRae's or up by the boat ramp and all that, channel markers are up in the 70s and 80s because there's so many as you're winding that river running for miles along. But the whole way up, they're going up in the numbers. When you head out, once you get out to 1 and 2, then you're at the end of the road basically, and you can kind of take off and go. The channel markers are there to keep you from running aground. There's a channel or a ditch been dug out there, and that's going to be more than likely it's going to be shallow on either sides of them. Definitely, if the markers are real close together, then it's for sure it's kind of keeping you shoehorned or funneled into that channel as you're going along. If they're really wide, any of you have been down around the Keys or run Hawks Channel, I mean, the markers are miles apart. You can't even really see from one to the next one as you're going along because there's plenty of water kind of all around you, except, you know, they're kind of along the reef edge, so you don't get up on the reef. But, and you'll be able to see that, you know, on your chart plotters. But reds are always triangle, greens are square. They're going to be plain like this if it's red, right, return rules. Now, once we're in the intercoastal waterway, what happens? Am I returning if I'm going north? Am I returning if I'm going south? What's the deal? And how do I know the difference? There's little reflective markers on the intercoastal markers. So a little yellow triangle are going to be on your reds. A little yellow square, hope you guys can see it, are on the green ones, okay? Those yellow symbols is what's telling us it's intercoastal waterway. When you're in the intercoastal, you're going to keep these yellow triangles that are on these red markers on the continental USA land side. They're on the mainland side. The greens are out towards the barrier islands or towards the Gulf or towards the Atlantic, depending on which side of the USA you're on. So if there's a fictional, let's say there's a ditch, an intercoastal waterway that runs all the way from New England all the way down to Key West. And we're taking that intercoastal all the way down. The whole way down to Key West, the red markers are on your right-hand side. They've all got these yellow triangles on them. The greens are out towards the beach side or the Atlantic Ocean. Now we're in Key West, and we decide, okay, we've had enough fun here. Now we're going to go over to Texas. So as we take the intercoastal from Key West all the way around New Orleans, all the way over to Texas, the whole way around, the reds are still on your right because the USA is on your right. The Gulf of Mexico is out to your left. Those little yellow markers are what's telling you that's the rule for that. If you see them without those, you instantly know, hey, this is a red right return rule, so I'm out of the intercoastal now. Now, if I'm going to pull into this marina or go wherever, then the reds are going to be on your right. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
I hope. All right, we're going to switch gears here a little bit. I'm going to kind of sit over here, and then we're going to pull up some charts on the charts on here. I hope that's the plan anyway. Okay, your mouse. Where are we at here? Right? Yeah, let's go to the PowerPoint first.
Okay. Hit your screen. And
There.
internet.
Oh, get me out of there. That's okay.
All right.
Okay. Can you guys, yeah, can you see the experience and power united by water?
Yes, we can see it.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right. So I just got a couple little screens here, just gonna roll through here. Then we're gonna go over to like a nautical chart. Move this out of the way. There we go. It's bigger. All right, just kind of some terminology. So the pointy end of the boat is the bow. The stern is the back of the boat. And then if you're talking about where something is, it's either forward or aft. It's not up front or out back. It's going to be forward of the helm or aft of the helm, which is where you are in here. This is the water line length. So as the boat sits in the water, that's going to be, if they, that's the water line length. Overall length is going to be from the tip of the bow back to the stern. Now, just take in mind, if those of you that have got boats in high and dries, you might have a boat that's, you look at, it's a 27-foot sun deck outboard, but the high and dry is going to measure from the back of the engine. And then if you got a bow pulpit sticking out and all that stuff. So now all of a sudden your 27-foot boat, when they go to measure it, you're going to be paying for a 28, 29 or 30-foot boat. So they're going to take the actual length overall of everything that takes up space in that spot, in that marina, in the barn. The beam of the boat right here is the width. So that's how they determine that. What's the beam terminology? Freeboard is from the water line up to the gunnel on the sides. And then the draft is how much depth your boat takes up in the water. So most of our boats, are looking, you're probably looking at like, 3-foot draft or so. If you got an outboard boat, you can trim your engine up a little bit, get into some shallower water. If it's a bigger yacht with shafts and rudders and stuff like that, your draft's going to be deeper. Port side, starboard side. Port side, starboard side. Port is if you're standing at the steering wheel, the helm. Left is port. Port has 4 letters, left has 4 letters. It's the easiest way to remember. Starboard is just kind of default, the opposite, the other side, the right side. How those terms came about was used to be called a steer board. The old ships years ago, they would have like a rudder or a steering board back there that they either had sails or they had a bunch of, the guys would row the boats. Most people were right-handed, so they would set that steer board up on the right-hand side so they could grab it with their right hand if they're sitting in the middle of the boat. So when they came into port to load and offload their goods, that steer board would be in the way of being able to dock and stuff. So they would always tie the ships up on the left-hand side of the boat. So then it became the port side of the vessel. And then the steer board turned into starboard. And so the starboard side of the boat. And also like with the Galileo, whoever figured out like celestial navigation and all that stuff, the starboard, they set that equipment up on the starboard side next to the steer board. So whoever's running the boat, then they could, make adjustments and stuff like that. So port was when you went in to load and offload your goods, and that's how those terms came about. So just look at it from the top. So we've got pictures in play here. Here we go. Sorry. No. So forward, aft again, off the port bow, off the starboard bow. So once again, this is all your port side. Here's your starboard side, and then aft or the stern here. Okay, just real quick, 3 points of contact. Just good advice. When you're stepping on a boat, make sure you've got 1 hand, 2 feet, two hands, 1 foot, something like that to make sure you're good and steady getting on the boat. In a passing situation, Let's go right here. Back up. So if we're face to face, I'm coming in and there's a boat right in front of me. Typically you want to pass port to port on your left side to left side, kind of like going down a road. You want to make your intent known to the other boater. So as you're going along and there's somebody coming at you, go ahead and take your steering wheel and give it a good exaggerated little turn to the starboard side. So you're kind of flashing your port side to them. And if they do the same thing going the opposite way, then you guys, you know, you're communicated. So then it's like, okay, cool. We're going to go run along and we're going to pass each other port to port. Now there might be a marina or something I'm trying to get to that's over on the port side. So as they're coming along, if they kind of say, I want to go this way, but I'm really determined I want to go the other way, really exaggerate it the opposite way and like say, hey, look, I really need to go over here. And then if they kind of reciprocate and go the opposite way, then you know you've accomplished your goal. So obviously at the end of the day, we want to avoid any collisions or anything like that. So the earlier you can let your intent be known, the better. So that's on head on, head on. Then if we've got two boats that are passing, so you got somebody in front of you and you're coming up behind them, that boat that's in front of you is what's called the stand-on vessel. This boat right here, B, does not have to get out of your way. They do not have to scoot over. They can just stay put right where they are. So you have to determine which is the safe side to go around them. And it's perfectly acceptable to come around them on this side, or you can go up around them on this side. So what you're going to be doing is looking to make sure there's like not a channel marker over here, or you got shallow water here. If it's shallow on the port side here, you're going to go and pass them around to the starboard side. So if you look at your chart plotters and the way they're set up, you can be able to kind of tell, hey, I've got more room to run this way or that. Now, if it's narrow and it's tight, you just may have to stay put. Just sit tight, wait till your opening comes to be able to go around. So also you can look here, the port side of these boats are lit up with a red light. So if you had your navigation lights on at night, port has 4 letters, left has 4 letters. So that's, we talked about, it's the left side of the boat, and then starboard. But the colors you have, your navigation lights at night, what color is port wine? Everybody knows it's red. So your color's your port light is red. Starboard is green. So if we're out at night, we turn on my navigation lights. So my port bow is lit up red, my starboard's green, and then in the back of the boat, I've got a white light on, that's my stern light. So people are going to be able to see you. Daytime, they can see you fine. Night, you got to have your lights on. So now, let's go down to this picture. It's daytime, and we're running along, and I'm running due west, and I got a boat over here on my starboard side that's coming in, and we're getting closer and closer. So it's called constant bearing, decreasing range. If that boat's right there on my starboard side and we're getting closer and he's not gaining and I'm not falling back or anything, we're going to have a collision sooner or later. So the rules of the road, it's just like what you learned in driver's ed. Come to a 4-way stop sign, at the same time, you're going to let the car on the right go first. We're going to do the same thing in this instance. So as we're going along, he's right there. I'm going to slow down. I'm going to turn to starboard a little bit. I'm going to go back behind him, go over his wake, let that boat keep on going. It's easy to see. Daylight, you can see the boat. Now, if we're out at nighttime, I can't see the boat. All I'm looking at is lights. So here I am in boat number A, and boat B is over here on my starboard side trucking along. So if I'm standing here at the helm looking over at this boat, I'm looking at the port bow of that boat, which is a red light. That red light is telling me to stop. This guy in boat B that's running along is looking down here at me in A, and he's looking at the starboard side of my boat, which is a green light. So they've got the green light, keep on going. I'm going to slow down or stop and go around him as they're going along. Okay. So that's how your port and starboard lights work. Now, if you're out and you see red and these are only go for like 112.5 degrees. So you only see them off to the sides. But if you're right smack dab in front of somebody, you're going to have red and green coming at you. If you can see red and green, that bow of that boat's pointed right at you. You need to make a decision. You need to, get out of the way or watch it and make sure that boat's slowing down or going to stop. Okay. All right, that's enough of the power. Let's go to the website here.
Oh, there was a chat.
Okay. Lynn had to go back to work.
Okay.
Stand by.
Oh, here it is. There you go.
So can I get rid of my picture on here so I can just see the whole?
Right there.
Okay. All right. Can everybody see this visual buoyage guide example?
Yes.
Yes, we can
Okay.
see it.
Cool. Okay. All right. The next couple minutes we're going to spend here, you're going to be able to, I promise you, if you have a chart, you're going to be able to figure out how to get in. I don't care if it's daytime, nighttime, whatever the case may be. So on this visual buoyage guide example, there's a preferred channel, secondary channel, and the intracoastal waterway. All right, so my preferred channel comes up here, secondary goes into this little cove or marina, and then the ICW runs down this way. This red and white marker right here is a safe watermark. That means there's deep water all around that marker right there. So if you've been out at John's Pass, there'll be a red and white marker out there that says JP on it. If you're down at Paso Grill, there's a red and white marker down there that says PG on it. So that's your deep water. That's your safe water mark. That's where you're going to start the whole trek into the intercoastal waterway or wherever you're going. So then we've got green 1 and red 2. Note the number, or they're hard to see there, but red right returning. So there's my red can. There's my green can. I'm here starting out at the safe water. I'm heading in right between 1 and 2. Now you notice this line right here lines perfectly up good with these guys right here. These are called range markers. They're up on this island. This might be 16 feet off the ground, and this one might be a half a mile away from it, and that might be 100 feet up in the air. But when you're in your boat down at sea level and you're looking up ahead of you, you're looking further down range, you're looking up, these lines are going to line up perfectly right on top of each other. If I was off to the side a little bit, coming in at an angle, these two range markers would separate out so they wouldn't be lined up right on top of each other. It gives you a good reference point as you're coming in a channel so as you're not coming in at an angle. But how do I know this is what's telling me that this is the preferred channel going up that way? It's all about this marker right here. It's got a red band on top of a green band. All right, the red is superior to the green. Port is red colored, starboard is green colored. As we come in, I can't go straight, I'm gonna hit the island. Since port is on top of starboard, it's telling me the preferred channel does a dog leg, turns to port right here. So I'm coming in, then I'm gonna head off this way, and then I've got green 3, red 4, green 5, red 6, so on and so forth, right on up into the marina or cove, wherever you're going. This little secondary one that cuts off here, there you've got red 2, 3, so your red's on the right, greens are on the left as you're returning in there. This little diamond over here, that's just a information sign. It might say buried cable here, don't anchor, no wake zone, no swim zone, or something like that. It doesn't have anything to do with navigation, has no lateral significance, but it's just an informational marker. The black and red over here with the 2 black balls on top, that's a danger marker. There's a rock pile or something there to be avoided, to stay away, but you can actually kind of go around it, but don't get up on top of it or close to it. Then we've got the intercoastal, that magenta colored line running across the top of the screen. So as this goes along, you're going to see the little yellow triangles. Can I just make that bigger? Maybe not. Nope.
It's good. They're there.
Okay. So the yellow triangles and the yellow squares. This example takes liberties. You won't ever see this, but the whole idea is, so the intercoastal waterway is those yellow symbols I was telling you about. Yellow triangle. They slapped a yellow triangle on this green marker. You probably will never see that. Yellow triangle, yellow triangle, yellow triangle, and down, those are all up to the land side. Down here to the open water side is your yellow squares as you're traveling along the intercoastal. If I go down here. So like I was saying, here's those yellow triangles. So in the intercoastal waterway, when following the ICW from New Jersey through Texas, keep the yellow triangles on your starboard side, all the way down the USA side, and then the green squares out to the open water. Now, we'll tell you that regardless of the color of the aid on which they appear, maybe you're going through Lake Okeechobee and there's an old cypress stump or some tree or something like that. They may take and stick one of those little yellow symbols on there to just kind of help denote that that's still part of the intercoastal waterway. And just depending on which way you're going, which way to keep that marker on either your port or your starboard side. Shoot, could have gone. All right. So that's visually, that's what it's going to look like if you're sitting in your boat. Now, if we're looking at a chart, it's the same thing. But if you pull up a chart or you're looking at your chart plotter on your boat, this guy right here, RW, means it's red and white. That's your red and white safe water mark. That's the starting point. Then we got green 1, red 2. There's my red over green marker where I'm going to do my dog leg to the port side. Green 3, red 4, green 5, 6, so on and so forth, right up into the channel or wherever we're going here. All these little circles underneath these markers, those all means that they're lighted buoys. They've all got lights on them. If you got these like green 3 and red 2 here, they don't have any lights on them. They're not showing anything. If the marker is on land, you've got these little exclamation mark looking guys here. So those are telling you that those are lit as well. So if they're floating cans, you're going to have the round circle underneath. If they're a fixed marker, they're going to have the little exclamation marks right there. So now nothing ever happens in the daytime when it's nice and bright and sunny like it is now, but say you're out and you're coming home and your chart plotter goes out on you and we've got a chart in the boat and we need to get home and it's dark. Well, I said all these markers are lit. This red and white marker right here, underneath it, it says MOA. This is the only Morse code you're going to have to know. It's dot dash. So this light is going to be white and it's going to pop on, off, on, and then go off. It's going to give it a quick flash. It's going to go off again. It's going to come on for a longer period of time. Then it's going to go off again. All of your safe watermarks, all your deep water is that Morse code alpha light characteristic, light flash pattern. So we make it to the safe water. Now it's like, okay, we're going to do this little nice and easy. We're just going to motor in here nice and slow. I'm going to keep my reds on my right, my greens on my left. So your depth perception at night's not the best. So these markers have all got their own individual characteristics on the lights that the pattern they're going to flash. So there's tons of information on this page right here. So red number 2, underneath it, it says FLR6S. Flashes red every 6 seconds. The green marker across from it, ISO G4S. That's an isophase light, which just means that the patterns, the light and darkness are equal. So that's going to be green for 4 seconds, and then it's going to go off for 4 seconds. Then it's going to come back on green for 4 and off for 4. So you're looking at your chart, you're sitting at safe water, you're looking up ahead of you, you go, okay, cool. I see my red one going every 6 seconds. I see that green isophase light. We're going to split them right down the middle. And as we go up, then I know, uh-oh, I've got an island up here in front of me. We got to make this dog leg sooner or later. So I'm looking for that red over green marker. That red over green marker flashes, FL, 2+1, red every 6 seconds. So it's going to give you a red light that's going to pop twice, then once, and it's going to repeat that pattern every 6 seconds. All of your markers that are a dog leg or where a channel shifts and turns like that, where there's a Y, is going to be that 2+1 pattern. So I don't know if y'all are familiar with up here in Tampa Bay, but if you've been on a cruise ship and you've gone out of Ybor, so if you're on a cruise ship and you're coming home, you're red right return the whole way. You come back in the ship channel, you go past Egmont Key, you go underneath the Skyway Bridge, reds are on your right the whole way. As you're coming up the bay, all of a sudden I got MacDill Air Force Base staring me right in the face. There's a marker right there that's actually green over red that tells the ship's captain, hey, this is where I need to turn to starboard to follow the channel around the preferred channel that's going to take me over to Seaton, to the cruise port over there in Tampa, up the Hillsborough River. So green over red, you're going to go to the right. Red over green, you're going to the left. Red is port, green starboard, port stronger than the starboard. Then as we come up, green 3, flashes green every 6 seconds. Green 5, flashes twice green every 6 seconds. So on and so forth. So you will not have the same light characteristic of 2 channel markers in a row, because then you could actually end up mistaking it or shortcutting or missing a turn or something like that. So they're going to be progressively different as you go up a channel. And the important thing is, keep the reds on your right returning, the greens are on your left when you're returning. And then the intercoastal is just going to run down through there. And same thing, your reds are going to be up towards the land side. Your green markers are going to be down here towards the Gulf side or the Barrier Island side. If I roll down here a couple pages, so it shows you that's what these light, that safe watermark there gives you a pop, then it's off, then it's on again, on, off, on, off, on. There's the green, on for 4 seconds, off for 4 seconds, and all that. I think Mallory sent you guys the link to this page, or she didn't, okay, or we can.
Yeah, I can just pop it in the chat right now.
Go ahead, then we can just go back to regular
Yep.
questions here.
Oh, 5 chats in here. Okay. Oh, there were some chats that came
Okay,
in.
I didn't have, okay, we'll go answer them.
Why is the red on top and preferred? Why?
Clifford, why do you
I got
turn?
you, sorry.
Yeah,
I can read.
you can read.
All right. Red's okay. Well, okay. Then I answered that question. Yeah. So port was over starboard, port was superior. So it went there. What is OC on the red marker number 4? OC is an occulting light. And let's see what book here. Oh, I got it right here. I always forget this one. Occulting, OC, means the light goes on at regular intervals. The duration of the light phases is greater than the duration of the dark phases. So the light will be on longer than it is dark on that. So damn it. I always got a 50-50 chance, right? And I we're doing the wrong one. X out of that. Yeah. Anyway, so there's the occulting. Light goes on at regular intervals, duration of light phases is greater than that. The Q, the quick flashing light, was up there on those range markers and stuff. Okay, how do we? Is there a good book for beginner boaters to read? Yeah, how do we just, let me just go back to my regular chat stuff now.
Are you done with this?
Yeah.
Okay. We don't need a screen share anymore?
No.
Okay.
All right, that makes sense? Kinda, clear
Yes.
as mud, maybe? All
Very
right,
helpful.
thank you, okay. Is there a good book for beginners? So this is, you can get this at the FWC, at the Marine Patrol offices. I've got them here at the Clearwater store. I'm waiting on a new batch. They're a couple weeks out right now. Anybody born after January 1st, 1988 has to have a boater's ID card now. They have to have a driver's license. So this book, there's a 75 question test in the back of this. There's a bubble in answer sheet. So you read through the book, answer the questions, you mail this off to Tallahassee, they'll scan it, and then they'll send you your safe boater's ID card. It's a good thing to do anyway. I mean, I've been a licensed captain for 20 something years, but I still read through it and you pick things up and it's, and I promise you, you guys are all bright. It's an open book test. So everybody's going to pass. It's just a lot easier than you can go online. There's tests you can do online, but takes a longer time to go through it than it is just kind of reading through this book right here. This is the Boat Smart Florida Boater Safety Course. And then the information that when I was online going through the channel markers and stuff, there's this book right here. It's called U.S. Aids to Navigation. What you need to, so if you go to a Google search, because it comes up under the Coast Guard stuff, and there's a bunch of different forms and PDF files in there, but just search for what you need to know about the markers on the water, and this will come up on there, and then you can, read through it. It's a good read. It makes a lot of sense. Won't take you very long. Just good information. Also, if you go to MarineMax's YouTube channel, I've probably got 40 or 50 videos on there, whether it's for anchoring, docking a boat, flares, tying the lines on cleats, tying bowlines, doing all that kind of stuff. They're all about 2 or 3 minutes long, but you can kind of look at those and then follow along as you want through the YouTube stuff. I've got a lot of stuff on there with Ray Marine, with Simrad, and all that. We're also doing on Facebook with the MarineMax Leisure Boating page, live every Monday from 3 to 4. It's myself and Captain Nick, who's down at the St. Pete store, just salesman down there. And each week we just kind of got a different topic and we talk about, and people ask questions and just kind of hang out for an hour and shoot the breeze about, you know, kind of whatever comes up. And next week, we're actually going to have Jim McCown on with us from Ray Marine. So if you guys got Ray Marine chart plotters and you want to learn about any of that stuff, that's be a good one to sit on there too. So I was born before 1988. I did take the boater's class. Do I need to? So if you were born before 1988, you do not need to keep the card with you. But if you were born afterwards, then yeah, so you've got to have that with you. Like I said, and if you get stopped by the Coast Guard or Marine Patrol, the boat's coming up, first thing they're looking for is that throw cushion. Then they're going to ask to see your identification and registration. They may ask you if there's any firearms or weapons on board the boat. If you do have, just let them know where they are, and they'll just probably keep you away from it, or they'll secure them and stuff like that till they get on and off, check you out, and send you on your way. But you know, don't surprise them with anything. Any other? Come on, somebody got some questions. About 10, 12. What is the rule for life jackets to children on boats under 40 feet? So, state of Florida, 26 feet and under, 6 years of age and under, you have to wear it in state waters. Federal law is actually 12 years old. So if you're offshore, you're out of state waters, technically your kid's going to have to wear a life jacket up to the age of 12. Like I said, just because your boat's over 26 feet and you got a 4-year-old or 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old or whatever, I mean, I'd go ahead and have them, you know, have them wear it. The Coast Guard will defer to the state rules though, but they may recommend that you put have a life jacket on your kids, if, you know, even if they're over the 6-year-old that Florida states. Life jackets save lives, right? It's a good thing to wear. If you're by yourself, have a life jacket. Get one of those suspenders. You know, they're not hot, they're easy to wear. Something else too, I didn't touch on, is the kill lanyard. So you got the emergency shutoff switch. If you're by yourself in a boat, if you're not feeling good, something weird's going on, you're getting hot, go ahead and hook that up to you. So if it's around your wrist or tied off to your belt loop, whatever, if you happen to get knocked out of that seat, it's going to kill the engine. It's going to shut it off. There's a video going around from last week. There's actually a Boat US boat that was over in Clear Lake, Texas, I think, that somehow or other the captain lost control. He hit the throttles and fell out of the boat. And the boat was sitting out there doing donuts for a long time. He eventually went over, hit a dock and a seawall and launched up over top of the dock and ended up in the back of somebody's yard. Luckily, he didn't hit any other boats or hurt anybody, or he was okay. But if you have that kill lanyard on, you know, something happens, you fall down, you're not going to, you know, hurt anybody or get run over yourself. Those of you that have boats that have joysticks or digital throttle and shift, there's a button on there that says throttle only. It's probably the most important thing on that boat right now. The old boats that didn't have digital throttle and shift, you used to have to squeeze in on a little bar to get it out of neutral and put it into forward gear or reverse. Now with the digital throttles, you just push the throttle and the boat's going to go. If you walk away from the helm and you haven't put it in throttle only and somebody accidentally bumps the throttles, the boat's going to take off. So if I'm out fishing and we got a kingfish hooked up and we're fighting the fish, we're driving around, I'm going to leave the helm because I got to go grab a gaff, and then somebody else is running through there and bumps that thing, the boat's going to take off and you can throw somebody out of the water or anything. Just get in the habit. Anytime you walk away from the helm, hit throttle only. You come back to take back over again, push your throttle only button again, and then go ahead and take off and drive.
There was, I think, one before that one. There.
What are some good apps for navigation and weather, wind speed, etc.? Wind Finder is a good one. Predict Wind, I think there's basically the same. There's one that's it's a little obscure. It is an app, but it's also a website. I just saved the bookmark to my phone. It's called Ventusky, Ventusky, and it'll show you. It'll predict out for days at a time, wind speed, wind direction, wave height, wave direction, precipitation, everything. It's a really good site, and especially like monitoring tropical storms and things like that. It's accurate, and it's good. Any plans for on the water training, please? As soon as we get the green light, yeah. We're still, what's going on. So, but yeah, it'll be here shortly. What is throttle only? So on your, I think you've got it, Carol. Yeah. So on your shifter, on the throttle at the base of where you put it in and out of gear, on the base of it, there's a button that says, sync, throttle only, dock, and all that. It's on there. If you've got digital throttle and shift, there will be a little button right underneath the base of the handle of your shifter that you can put it in there. So if you've got twins, if you got a joystick, you've got the ability, twins or trips, you got the ability, you can hit one lever and you can run all the engines just off of one stick if you'd like to. And then the trim and tilt for the engines up and down is going to be with your thumb on the side of the thing. What can we expect from the WOW class in person? No, it's just, it'll be basically kind of like what we went over here today. We'll do it, except it'll be face-to-face downstairs in my training area. But then we'll break up into groups and we'll head out on the water and actually get some time behind the wheel, practicing docking, maneuvering, go out, run the boats around. I typically try to keep the women on water classes to like 10 or 12 ladies. That way we can get into two groups of 5 or 6, so everybody gets some time behind the wheel. If it ends up too big, then it's just, it's not fair because you don't get enough chance to actually get on the boats and kind of get a feel for it. But it's usually from, excuse me, from like 9 till noon. So roughly, so like this class, we're looking at 1 hour and 20 minutes now, a little over an hour. That's basically what it is inside. And then we take a little break, like 10:30 or so, then head out on the water for, an hour, hour and a half or so. Let's see. All right, so this week coming up is National Safe Boating Week. This Friday is National Wear Your Life Jacket to Work Day. So if you do that, you take a picture, you're at work or hanging out at home because people are working from home, do that, and then do the hashtag, you know what it is for MarineMax to send it to. You can look on like MarineMax's website and stuff like that, but they'll be sharing pictures and stuff. Couple good websites to go to is boatingsafety.com. That's sponsored by CITO, and also soberskipper.com. So I was fortunate enough to get selected. I actually sit on a national advisory boards, North American Sober Skipper Advisory Council. And it's kind of like Mothers Against Drunk Drivers. We're really trying to get the retail side of the boating business to address the drinking and driving kind of part of it. And our big push is to designate a sober skipper. So just every time you're going out on a boat, just somebody kind of take that pledge to say, okay, hey, I'm not drinking today. You guys go out and have fun, do what you want. We'll go to the restaurants, go to the sandbars, do all that. Once we get back to the house, get the boat put up and all that. Alcohol and then being out on the water, the sun, the waves, it affects you a lot more than what it does, what you're used to. If you have a few drinks at the house, they're accelerating factors. And alcohol is by far the leading cause of boating accidents. I don't want to get into a lot of them, but there's been a lot of, it's, definitely preventable. A lot of stuff's happened around here in the last year or so. And also going under bridges, slow down. Tampa Bay out here behind me, I can go underneath the Bayside, the Howard Franklin, the Gandy, all those wide open throttle if I wanted to. Nobody cares. But there's going to be some kids sitting in a John boat or an old man in a canoe or something around there. You're always responsible for your wake. You got to be able to stop the boat. So slow down. It takes you an extra 30 seconds. Just because you can run through it doesn't mean you should. Then once you get over to the intercoastal waterway, then you're going to see the signs up that's going to tell you minimum wake zone. So minimum wake typically on our boats is going to be about 1,000 RPMs. Your bow stays down flat. Your wake doesn't have any white caps or rolls to it or anything else like that. Idle speed, on the other hand, is as slow as you can possibly go and still maintain steering. So around a marina or stuff, it may be idle. But then once you're out into a little more open water, it may switch to minimum wake. So then you can bump it up a little bit from 650 to 1,000, maybe 1,100 RPMs. What was I going to say with that too? Minimum wake. You got to be able to maintain steering. So you're going through a bridge with a lot of current or something like that, you might have to bump it up a little bit more. But then, get back off of it and take your time. Any other questions, ladies? What else? Well, that's about it, I think. If you all have any other questions or anything, you can email me. It's Keith, Keith .lake @MarineMax.com. Like I said, I'm here in Clearwater. If you get a chance, swing on by. We've got a beautiful showroom. Got 30,000 square feet of water. Oh, wakes and chops, please. Yep, wakes and chops. So I assume you're talking about like going through another boat's wake. You want to kind of go in almost like at a 45-degree angle, as opposed to taking it on square on the bow. So if you're going straight off on the bow with it, the bow is going to come up. You're going to come down the back side of that wake, and you can end up stuffing it in the second wave that's coming over. So kind of quarter into it at a 45-degree angle. And if it's a big wake, you got a big yacht or cruiser or somebody, big sea ray coming by you, and you're in a smaller boat, get up to it and then go ahead and slow yourself down to like a minimum wake speed. And then as you drop down in the trough, you may have to kind of power up just a little bit to kind of walk yourself up the face of the wave, and then come back off the throttle again to kind of roll back down. Then as you hit the bottom of that crest, then kind of push your throttle back up a little bit. So you're just kind of walking yourself over. And then as soon as you get past that second crest, then you're going to be inside the wake of that boat. Then you can kind of go ahead and turn and straighten out, and then go ahead and get on the throttle and go. And if you've been running with the engine trimmed up a little bit as you're going, as you're kind of getting to that wake, go ahead and trim that down too. It's going to give you better steering. And then also the acceleration power to get back up on plane when you're going. Strong currents. If you have to dock your boat in a strong current, the best way to do it, or the easiest way, the more precise way, is if you've got the opportunity, you want to back into that current or back into the wind. All right. So if you think about it, the bow of your boat is like a flag, and your engine's like the flag pole. Okay. So if the wind's blowing, right, so the flagpole is facing into the wind and the flag's flapping along going with it. If you try going sideways to the wind's just going to spin you around anyway. Or if you're trying to get your bow into it, kind of like a fish swimming upstream, if you get a little sideways, it's going to push you on around anyway. So if you can already, and it pushes you around, well, then you got to back into the thing anyway. So go ahead and get yourself spun around and then back into the slip against the wind or against the tide or against the current. And you're going to have better steering capability doing that. When you're pulling into a slip or a dock, it's all about momentum. Nice calm day and you're pulling in, you're going in bow first, you're aimed up, you're looking at that dock, you're coming in, your momentum's going to come, then you get up to the dock, you're going to give the wheel a little turn, and then the side of the boat's going to come right up to the dock. You also want to look deep into the slip. Don't look at the very end of it, because if you're pulling in bow first, your bow is going to be all the way in the back far end of that slip anyway. So when you're driving in, drive into your spot. Don't worry about the T-head or the end of that dock out there, because that's where your stern's going to end up anyway, back of the boat. So go ahead and get yourself on in there and then have your momentum on there. Strong current for putting on a trailer. All right. Make sure you don't sink the trailer in the water too far. You want the boat to be able to stop on the trailer as you're going in there. But the strong current, you can't back in, obviously. In this case, you're going to take the bow of the boat against the current. And you're going to have to drive the bow of the boat into the current. And then as you get to that trailer, then you'll turn, whether it's to port or to starboard. And then the boat's you'll feel it go up onto the bunks. It's just practice. It's like anything. The more you practice it, the better you're going to get at it. So. All right, guys. Well, I hope this was informative and it was fun. Well, it's kind of, it's obviously unique. We've never done this before. So hopefully we didn't have too many glitches. And thank you for joining us. Like I said, you can email me. Better yet, you get a chance, swing by Clearwater, come in and see us.
Yes, we're open. So if you want to come in and take a look at the showroom or you need service for your boat, we are operating and open and maintaining distinct guidelines that we need to follow. So
yeah, we're 6 foot apart.
We're 6 feet apart.
All right, guys. Have a great day. Hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was great.
You bet, Carol.